this is why this language is written specifically to address some of these vulnerable populations that are disproportionately represented in this challenging environment. So our city attorney's office has been working with my office as well as with the community groups to develop a pre-charge diversion program, which will engage a lot of the women that we see working the streets, and they will be then partnered with our nonprofit service providers to be able to put them on a path that will help them get the support and the services that they need to be able to exit the life. And so this budgetary amendment is really to address that severe cycle of poverty and sexual violence that we need to address at a very root cause level from a very human to human relationship, because many folks know that we're not going to be able to jail ourselves out of this problem, but we really need to be able to build a path for the women and the girls in our community who are being exploited to be able to leave that cycle of exploitation and oppression. So with that, thank you, and I want to also just thank Councilmember Goodman and Councilmember Fry for working with me on this as well.
Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very supportive of the initiative and the outcomes that we hopefully get. But I was speaking briefly with the Commissioner of Health, Ms. Musicant, earlier today on this topic, and she was indicating that since we're not actually providing a new staff person on an ongoing basis, it'll be an RFP, so we'll be able to go out and solicit proposals from culturally relevant community-based organizations that can do this work with us. I would just like to offer an amendment and a substitute basis, just replacing the word ongoing to a one-time, recognizing that we can continue to work on this in the future with other funding sources in a future budget. For in the 2017 budget, I think a one-time basis in the second line of the first paragraph for the clerk's benefit would be an appropriate amendment, and I'm happy to make that amendment as a substitute.
Councilmember Quincy has moved to change the wording on line 2 on Councilmember Cano's motion from ongoing to one-time basis. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to speak against that amendment. Helping women exit a life of commercial sexual exploitation takes a significant amount of time and resources. This is not something that we're going to be able to get rid of, quote unquote, in 6 months, 9 months. This is an effort that is going to require our partnership and our prioritization for years to come until we eradicate the commercial sexual exploitation in our city. And I just want to share with you a story from my residents who are worried that their children are growing up in an environment where the exploitation and abuse of women is normalized, where little kids are walking at 7 a.m. to catch their bus at the corner, and then right next to them, somebody's getting involved in activities that no little child should have to see or experience. So I want to be intentional about the investment, and I think it's really important for us to make an ongoing commitment. And then when and if those other sources and those other dollars become available, then I would be happy to work with Councilmember Quincy and others to replace this line of funding. But I think that investing $50,000 with perhaps some of the savings from NCR, which we still have to see what happens, how much of that savings actually comes through at the end of 2016, is the bare minimum we can do. And I think that an ongoing commitment at that level is really important to ensure that we're sending a strong message to our community partners that when people are saying they are very concerned about their children, seeing things that they shouldn't be seeing at such a young age, feeling afraid to walk on the streets because people are getting solicited regularly. I was solicited by a John not too long ago on my way home. That's a very uncomfortable environment for women. That's a very uncomfortable situation for our children and for the many women of color that actually get targeted for this kind of activity. And I ignored the John. I kept walking, but he was so persistent that I had to stop and tell him that if he didn't stop talking to me, that I was going to have to call the police. And not many women will stop to do that. And so a small contribution of ongoing sources of ongoing money to address this very deeply rooted, growing problem in our city is really a basic investment that we can do to ensure that we're able to create a healthy environment for the young families in our community, for the immigrant families in our community, for the Indigenous women in our community. And so I would not support the amendment to make this a one-time investment. I think we need to be here for a while until we can see some results. And in the meantime, work to identify those new sources. And then when those new sources are identified, then we can make another amendment and shift those dollars so that they remain an ongoing source.
Councilmember Quincy?
Thank you very much, Madam President. I cannot disagree one particle with what Councilmember Cano said. I agree 100%, obviously. This is an incredibly important thing, and it needs to be done on an ongoing basis. My intent is merely for accounting purposes. It would be just as a way to clean it as we go forward into future budgets. We just have to restore the city assessor in their department on an ongoing basis for continuing service levels. That's how budgets are created. This is just an accounting entry. It has nothing to do with intent on to diminish the importance of the project or to change the funding stream. And I would work vigorously to make sure that this item is fully protected in the health department's budget and ongoing budgets. But I'm just asking for the ongoing to be taken to one time for an accounting purposes of the city assessor's budget.
Councilmember Goodman?
I had no intention to speak up on this issue tonight, but as a person who came to the council from the women's reproductive rights movement and the feminist community, I just need to speak up about the importance of the city doing what we can with regard to commercial sexual exploitation of women. You know, part of me wants to say I think we should be decriminalizing prostitution, because the whole prostitution issue is an issue because of the people who are seeking it, not the women who are forced to provide it as a result of their personal circumstances. And as long as I've been on this council, through multiple council members in the 9th Ward, there has always been a problem with prostitution on Lake Street. And what we see happening now is that ethnic and minority communities who feel despair and not a good sense of self-worth are sucked into it even more. And so when Councilmember Cano asked me to help her with this, it was out of a passion for this issue and the way women are treated as objects by the people who perpetrate this crime, and women are victims in this crime. I do think there needs to be ongoing, culturally sensitive, focused intervention here so that women who want to get out of the sex worker industry can. I personally think if they want to be in the sex worker industry, they should be able to too. I understand that that is not the law of the land currently, but as many of us have discussed with regard to some of these libertarian issues, we're not there yet. I wish we were, but we need to deal with the victims of these crimes, and the victims of this crime right now are these women. So if it's an accounting issue, I can live with the accounting issue. But I'm going to be vigilant with Councilmember Cano in making sure that going forward, we have a very specific program to work with these women, because this, like domestic abuse, we've had a lot of conversation about domestic abuse. This is an outgrowth in many ways about how women feel about themselves, and how domestic abuse has been a source of some of the reasons that women feel the way they do as a result of this larger crime against women. So I trust Councilmember Quincy. it sounds like the sense of the council and everyone's looking down. So I know people kind of feel bad. No one's typing a single thing. So it sounds like there's a lot of attention being paid to this. If this is truly an accounting shift, I maybe can live with that. But the intent from the author is to make sure this money is there in an ongoing way until the time at which no women are exploited on Lake Street or in other parts of our city, and until we get past this problem. I'm not convinced we will get past it, so it probably means many years of funding to ensure that these women get out of this situation. And I wholeheartedly support you, Councilmember Cano, on this issue. It is a multi-generational problem, and we need to do what we can to address it.
Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam President. So I'm a little confused because we've had we've had several amendments actually, where the type of language that I'm using has been used and ongoing has been a part of those, and none of those have been asked to be removed from ongoing to one time. So I would like to have our finance staff explain this technical shift, because my intent and purpose is to secure ongoing funding for this program at the $50,000 level with a one-time infusion from Neighborhood and Community Relations. So if you could please walk us through how that would work, because it seems like other amendments have been okay with the ongoing language, but yet this one's being specifically called out. So I need explanation of how that would work to ensure that the $50,000 are ongoing.
Mr. Ruff.
Council President Johnson, Councilmember Cano, to specifically address your question about why other amendments haven't had the same difficulty, I think it's because the other amendments were replacing funding that was ongoing in the budget. And so part of this is ongoing and part of it is one-time funding. So I think, obviously, we as staff have not had a chance to explore the options that are available other than just a very recent time. And so I would be comfortable as the Chief Finance Officer if the sense of the council and the direction to us is over the next year to find an ongoing source, to live with a small, and this I would consider to be a small amount of funding relative to the size of budget, for a part of it being ongoing, a part be one time, and then we would just come back in the next budget cycle, work with the mayor if she chooses to include it in the recommended budget, and have ongoing source so we do have that structurally balanced budget.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Ruff. I would be happy to codify that amendment. So procedurally, how do we do this? Just amend it now on the floor?
Council Member Goodman has a priority motion. Councilmember Connors.
So I'm thinking we could table this. Council members Cano, Quincy, and I could talk to Mr. Ruff in the antechamber, whatever that room is, work it out and come back and pass it while the next amendment comes forward so it can be dealt with tonight. And I will say, too, I was involved as well as Councilmember Johnson in trying to help Councilmember Cano find sources here, so I take responsibility for not helping direct the one-time versus the permanent funding. So my motion is to table.
Councilmember Goodman moves to table this item. Is there a second?
Second.
All in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We can go on to the next amendment and you guys go work that out.
Yeah, we'll just go with it.
Councilmember Warsame. Take finance staff.
They wrote it for me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion to amend the 2017 Mayor's recommended budget. Oh, you don't have the papers on this. Let's get the
The
copies.
clerk is getting out. Okay.
All right, sorry. I think everybody's got the motion now. So I make a motion to amend the 2017 Mayor's recommended budget on a one-time basis by increasing the Finance and Property Services Department by $100,000 to be funded by the Police Special Revenue Fund. $50,000 is to be spent in the Phillips West neighborhood, and $50,000 is to be spent in the Ventura Village neighborhood for community public safety priorities. The resources should be expended with input from the community and neighborhood organizations. And I would like to speak to that motion.
Councilmember Warsame has moved to amend the mayor's budget on a one-time basis by increasing Finance and Property Services Department by $100,000 to be funded by the Police Special Revenue Fund. $50,000 is to be spent in Phillips West neighborhood and $50,000 in Ventura Village neighborhood for community public safety priorities. The resources should be expended with input from the community and neighborhood organizations. And Councilmember Warsame, you will identify the Police Special Revenue Fund availability, if you would, please.
Yes.
Is there a second, first of all? Second? Moved and seconded. Councilmember Warsame.
Yeah, the Police Special Revenue Fund, Madam Chair, is an account for the city's revenue and expenses related to federal and state administrative forfeitures, lawful gambling, non-emergency services contracts, automated property systems, and the workforce director scheduling and payroll system. So this is money that the police have in reserve, and we have spoken to the department. So my office did get in contact with the department, and we worked with our finance department to make sure that this money was available and it could be used for the purposes that we made the motion for.
Okay. Councilmember Warsame, did you want to speak about the intention of the motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you go ahead?
All right, thank you very much. I mean, this motion is basically, in a way, we thought of it before the public hearings, but a lot of the public hearing sentiment and comments were directed at community policing, innovative ways of policing, engaging the public and our residents in the way policing was conducted in their neighborhoods. The fact is that we all are aware and appreciative that we do have to make a change with regards to the relationship between the community and our law enforcement, our police law enforcement department. And the reason why we've come up with this motion is that just like the mayor highlighted rightly the issues facing our residents in Little Earth and in West Broadway, we also in Ward 6 are grappling with public safety. Public safety is the number one issue that our residents talk about, whether they live in Seward or Cedar Riverside or the Phillips neighborhood. And the reason why we chose Ventura Village and the Phillips West neighborhood is because, as everybody's aware, we have Chicago and Franklin intersection in our ward, which is one of the most difficult areas in the city of Minneapolis with regards to public safety. And the residents of the Ventura Village neighborhood, which is part of Phillips, and the Phillips West neighborhood have repeatedly contacted our office. And every time we go to the to community meetings, whether they be at PPL or the safety committees at Phillips West and Ventura Village, the number one thing that comes up is we need more resources, we need more help, and we need to engage, to be engaged with. So what this motion does, this is in my opinion, is a step in the right direction. What it does is it empowers the residents of Ventura Village and Phillips West. We tap into their understanding of what public safety and what the priorities of public safety should be. We utilize their brain. You know, we engage as the city and as with the police. We engage with them, and they highlight to us what the top priorities are with regards to public safety. And this is a small amount of money that would accelerate, in my opinion, greater engagement, greater trust building, better relationship, and also an improvement with regards to public safety. Let me give you a simple example of what I'm talking about. The PPL is located in this area. It's located in that intersection. And there was a meeting with PPL residents and my office, and the mayor's chief of staff was also there. Predominantly, the people who were there were African-American residents. And all of them were talking about public safety and how they needed more resources for their neighborhood. They wanted to be listened to. They want it to be taken seriously. And I agree with them. And this is one of the main things that I ran for office. I want my community, my family, my residents to have the same quality of life as those that live in Lake Calhoun and in the more affluent areas of the city of Minneapolis. We don't want to have gunshots in our neighborhoods. We don't want to have prostitution in our neighborhoods. We don't want to have drug dealings in our neighborhoods. We want our children to use the public parks just like everybody uses their public parks. And I think this is a step in the right direction, engaging the community, getting people together in one room, bringing the police, bringing public works department, bringing NCR and everybody together to discuss this issue and to highlight their priorities and how this little bit of pot of money should be spent. And I would like my colleagues to, I will stand for questions, and I would like my colleagues to support this motion. Thank you.
Any discussion on Councilmember Warsame's amendment? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam President. So I just have a question. So the source, the $100,000 would come out of the Police Special Revenue Fund. And I apologize if you already covered this. I was on the other side of the room talking to Councilmember Goodman and Councilmember Quincy. So the Police Special Revenue Fund is what specifically? How much money is there now? And is this, are we cutting the police by doing this? Or what exactly is this taking money from? What activities won't be completed by taking the money out of this fund?
Do you want me to answer that, Madam Chair?
Councilmember Warsame wants to respond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, the police special fund is something that we just came across, I think, today. But it's a fund that is used for certain activities. It's like an account, a savings account that the police have. I mean, that's how I'll put it. But the finance department can answer that better than I can. And there is an amount of money in there. And normally, the special revenue funds are restricted. But in 2016, which is a rare case, the fund received more contract revenue than expenses. So more money came into the fund than went out of it. And because of that, we asked for $100,000 for these two neighborhood these two neighborhoods. And we fortunately found that there was that amount in the account. Now, how much is in the fund? That's something that you need to ask somebody at the finance department. But what we know is for our purpose of engaging our community and bringing people into this program that we wanted to do and empowering our residents, we have the money in the account. So we had the $100,000 and we were able to use it for this particular initiative.
Could we have our finance staff respond to the question of how much money is in the Police Special Revenue Fund?
Ms. Green.
Council President Johnson, Councilmember Cano, when I reviewed the Police Special Revenue Fund with the Police Department accountants, there was $1.4 million available, but roughly $100,000 was the only amount that was unrestricted as a part of that $1.4 million.
Unrestricted?
Yes, the rest of the funding in the Special Revenue Fund is restricted. You have to use it for specific purposes.
But you said 1.4 is unrestricted.
No.
1.4 is restricted. Only $100,000 is unrestricted.
Unrestricted. Got it. Okay. So 100,000 of the 1.4
Yes.
is unrestricted.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to make a friendly amendment to this motion. So I end up going to a lot of meetings with Councilmember Warsame's aides because we do share a boundary around the 24th and 10th Avenue area, which is an area that has experienced a lot of challenges. And so some folks in the city might remember the days when the People of Phillips existed. So the People of Phillips was the neighborhood association essentially for all of the Phillips neighborhoods, which were then broken up into 4. So we have Phillips West as one, Ventura Village is another. East Phillips and Midtown Phillips are also part of that community. So if I may, Councilmember Warsame, would you entertain saying in this in this budget amendment, instead of specifically saying Phillips West 50, Ventura Village neighborhood 50, could we do 25 for each Phillips neighborhood? So 25 for East, 25 for Phillips West, 25 for Ventura Village, and 25 for Midtown Phillips. That would be my motion to amend.
Councilmember Kano has moved to amend Councilmember Warsame's amendment to distribute the money to 4 neighborhoods. Councilmember Warsame.
Madam Chair, with all due respect, we worked very hard try to locate this money and to come up with and engage the community. And some of the neighborhoods are already excited about the prospect of getting the resources, and we don't really want to disappoint them. I would have worked with Councilmember Kano in order to make sure that all of Phillips would have got resources, but since we are all we were constrained by our objective of Franklin and Chicago, and since we don't have a direct relationship with the other neighborhood organizations outside of the 6th Ward, I would suggest that we do not dilute the impact that this motion could have on Chicago and Franklin and on the people that live in those 2 neighborhoods.
Councilmember Kano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think, my intent here is to really to help communities come together to address the issue of crime and safety in the area. There's many Somali and East African community residents in East Phillips and Midtown Phillips that would also benefit by you allowing this support. And the neighborhood associations actually work very closely. I've been to multiple meetings with Minneapolis Police Department where Crystal from Phillips West will be there, and then we'll have the leadership of Midtown Phillips, and heavily working together on how to address the crime and safety issues on 24th and 10th and 24th and 11th, where there's been shootings, there's been suicides, there's been a lot of challenges. And so I think it would be good if we expressed the ability to be able to bring these neighborhoods together to address similar challenges that aren't necessarily divided by the ward boundaries. These communities are much more connected than the ward boundaries show. There's a lot more participation, and I think by bringing more people and sharing the resources, we can actually help those organizations partner with one another, leverage other investments, bring other strategies to the table, and show that we are united in trying to ensure that our communities are able to end the negative activity that they're experiencing in the neighborhoods. So it's not really about diluting, it's about sharing, and it's about unifying neighborhoods and residents who are facing very similar challenges.
Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify, because my understanding of the original motion was more along the lines of the $500,000 existing funding in the proposed budget and finance. That's about like facilitating a community conversation about community-based policing, so that this money wouldn't be going, like directly to specific neighborhood organizations, but rather finance or the staff or organizations that they end up partnering with would engage, with these 2 organizations potentially, but with a bigger number of community-based organizations. So I just want to clarify if that was the case. And then I wondered if, since it isn't, a direct allocation to any one organization, if there wasn't sort of a way that we could maybe amend the motion without sort of specifying, like breaking up the money so much, since it's kind of one part of the similar area of the city. So I just wondered if the original author could speak to sort of how he imagined the funding being spent in the original motion.
Councilmember Warsame.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In terms of the way we've designed this motion, it is taking the spirit of the mayor's budget allocations for Little Earth and West Broadway, because what we're doing is we're identifying 2 locations, 2 areas that have high public safety issues or high crime rate, and whose residents are impacted by public safety. And we thought along those lines of why not take into consideration all the comments that we have had from our residents, the neighborhood organizations, entities such as PPL, the local mosques, churches, local leaders, youth organizations from those two neighborhoods, and give them the ability, empower them. So yes, the money we aim, the aim is, and I'll be clear, is to empower the people who live in those two neighborhoods. So the neighborhood organizations will play a role. It's not going to go to the neighborhood organization so they can do their operations or they can spend it on outreach. No, this is for public safety for those two neighborhoods, especially the intersection of Chicago and Franklin, empowering the neighborhood. So the neighborhood organization as a vehicle will be utilized to get to where we want to get to. But the community as a whole, so the people in PPL who live in Ventura Village will be partners in this. And the residents, the East Africans, the Latinos, the Native Americans, and people from the rest of Phillips can come and participate in this dialogue. But we're going to spend this resource from what comes out of the community's priorities. What are your priorities? What are your, number one, number two, number three? Do you need extra cameras for PV Park? The Ventura Village neighborhood spent their own money to get cameras for PV Park. What do you need a fusion center? Do you need safety walks? Do you want dialogue between the community and these young men who are standing around the streets? It's up to them. We're empowering them. We're giving them the opportunity to address their issue. And this is what we heard from our public. Our public were talking about a new way of dealing with public safety, empowering the community, hearing from the community. And what I'm saying here is I am trying to get two neighborhoods in my ward that have some of the highest gunshots, drug dealing. Mothers don't feel safe walking down the street. This is the same as Little Earth, the same as North Minneapolis, if not worse. This was what used to be called, this area was what used to be called Murderapolis 20 years ago. This is the heart of some of the issues that we're facing. And we're saying we're going to give a little bit of resource. And we did our homework and thank the Lord that we found the money in this 100,000 that was there. But I don't see the point of that, like I would use that word again. 100,000 for two neighborhoods that have thousands of people that are impacted by crime every day. And we want to empower the community to address this issue. And I would like my colleagues to support us in this, because my colleagues don't face what we face in Chicago and Franklin. Very few. I mean, I know Ward 9 and 5 and 4 share the same thing, but this area is an area that I believe if we tackle together with the community, the city, the community, the police, the county, the state, if we tackle together, we can turn around and it will galvanize the community that they can solve these type of problems. It will give them the confidence for them to continue and solve other problems. But if we don't engage them, if we don't listen to them, if we don't empower them, then all we're going to do is just talk in rhetoric. All we're doing is talking and talking and talking. So I think let's move in the right direction. Thank you.
Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree that there's a lot of challenges in that area, and I know about those challenges because I attend those meetings, and I hear from residents who live in Midtown Phillips who are on the corner of 24th and 11th. So that southbound area is the 9th Ward, and then 24th, northbound is Ward 6. And so there's a lot of shared boundaries and interests in terms of what the residents are working on together already, what they're doing to come together to address these issues. And Sector 1 of the 3rd Precinct is all 4 Phillips neighborhoods, and they have very similar characteristics. And of course, Councilmember Wasame, we share obviously the boundary on Lake and Chicago. So I would just, like to make a friendly amendment to have the $100,000 be shared by the Sector 1 the MPD Sector 1 neighborhood associations so that together they can address these issues that they have been facing. These are communities who already work together. These are communities who have been asking for our support. These are communities who want you and me to work together on these issues.
Councilmember Cano, can I interrupt you though?
Sure.
You have an amendment in are you changing your amendment? If that's the case, you're out of order because we're too deep in our amendment. So
Nope, the original proposal stands. I was trying to articulate the fact that these 4 Phillips neighborhoods that I would have added with my amendment to include East Phillips and Midtown Phillips all make up Sector 1 of the 3rd Precinct.
all right, thank you. Any further discussion on Councilmember Cano's amendment? Seeing none, all in approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That fails. Back to Councilmember Warsami's amendment. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed, that carries. Councilmember Warsami, did you have any other motions?
Madam Chair.
Okay. Councilmember Glidden then.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This is actually a motion by myself and Councilmember Warsami, and I want to acknowledge this is a recommendation of the mayor, and I agreed to help make it in the form of a motion, so I'll walk it through, and I don't know if she wants to speak to it as well. But this is a motion that amends the 2017 Mayor's recommended budget for City Attorney Office and Civil Rights Department on an ongoing basis by decreasing the City Attorney Office by $100,000 and increasing the Civil Rights Department by $100,000 and 1 FTE for the Complaint Investigation Division. And also, it is directing Civil Rights Department to assign staff to help coordinate response and information regarding hate speech and crimes, as well as acts of discrimination within the city and with intergovernmental and community partners. And if I can, I'd like to speak to it to describe it a little bit more.
Okay, Councilmember Glidden has moved with Councilmember Warsami, amending the mayor's budget for the city attorney and civil rights department on an ongoing basis by decreasing the city attorney's office by $100,000 and increasing civil rights department by $100,000 and 1 FTE for the complaint investigation division, and directing civil rights department to assign staff to help coordinate the response and information regarding hate speech and crimes, as well as acts of discrimination within the city and with governmental and community partners. And is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilmember Glidden.
Thank you. So first, I'd like to speak a little bit about the source, and then I'd like to speak a little bit about what's the proposed change or what would be the use of the fund. So first on the source, this funding is coming from the city attorney's office. As a reminder, there had been in the budget what was addition back of $200,000 to what was the planned budget cut to the city attorney's office. We have been in touch with the city attorney, and she believes she is able to manage her office with decreasing that $200,000 increase back to the plan cut to $100,000. As I understand it, there are some things that are outstanding for the office that can help the budget, including some renegotiation with Hennepin County around jail fees and other items. I will just note that when I spoke to the city attorney, she does feel that she will likely need that reinstated to her budget in 2018. And my understanding is the mayor's office is willing to hopefully look at that, depending on, of course, we don't know all the circumstances that will happen to the budget in the coming years. So with that caveat, my understanding is that that was something to be looked at for the future. So then to say a little something about what would be the use of the funds. This would be going to, within the Civil Rights Department, one of their divisions is the Complaint Investigation Division. So this is the division that most directly works with the charges of discrimination that might be filed under our Civil Rights Ordinance. And my understanding is that there was an existing need coming into this budget season for perhaps some additional complaint investigation unit resources. But in fact, what has been happening and the trend that we are trying to follow is that there has been a continued increase in discrimination complaints, and thus need for complaint investigation staff to be able to accommodate that. In addition to that, Councilmember Warsame had initiated a few months ago an initiative in partnership with the Civil Rights Department to bring increased resources around outreach relating to public accommodations discrimination. So this would be able to help with those needed resources to do that work. And then the third thing I will just say is that there is a need for the Civil Rights Department to be engaged in work that is happening throughout multiple city departments in coordinating our response and information and engagement with the public relating to hate speech and crimes. So we know that there has been an increase in these instances in the city of Minneapolis. We also know that we are likely to need to be partnering with others around the state, because we do bring, as a large civil rights department within the state, some resources and expertise. And I know that we have already been requested to be part of some statewide coordination on how do we effectively respond and assist with tracking mechanisms and other types of things. So several reasons support this. I want to thank the mayor for identifying this as a need and looking for how to fund this. I've been able to talk with both the city attorney and the civil rights director, and I know that they will, and anyway, I appreciate their input as well on how to effectively use these resources.
Councilmember Warsame.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to acknowledge Council Vice President Glidden's great work on this, and also to thank the mayor for standing up for our residents. And make no mistake, hatred and bigotry is on the rise, and we in the city of Minneapolis have a choice of either being ourselves, a welcoming, warm city that's inclusive, or being afraid. And I thank the mayor for the steps that she has taken before this election and after, and also Councilmember Glidden for putting meat to this. And the Civil Rights Department is going to be an important department in this city in the next couple of years. So I welcome this. I'm happy to be a co-author, and I'd like to thank again Councilmember Vice President Glidden for hard work. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you for letting me speak in your meeting. The impetus for this the inspiration for this came at a meeting that Councilmember Glidden helped organize at Sabathani Community Center in the wake of an election that had been very divisive, in a world where it was clear that there are a number of people who are feeling less safe and less protected in this country now, because leadership at the highest level, including our president-elect, has made very disparaging comments, encouraged people to think differently about fellow Americans than they did before. And at that meeting, as I was listening to people speak about what can we do together to make sure we stay together as a community, and realizing that the fears people have aren't just fears, they are experiences people are having of increased discrimination as well as hate crimes, as well as other negative experience they and their children in particular are facing, and they're happening in our city as well as all around the country. And the inspiration came, yes, we will need more resources in our Civil Rights Department. People, particularly immigrants, Somali people, people of Muslim descent, GLBTQ people, all sorts of folks are going to be experiencing more discrimination. There will be more complaints, and we need more resources. And so that was the impetus of knowing that it would be useful to find more resources, and working with, and I appreciate Council Vice President Glidden's willingness to work together, and Councilmember Warsame's